Hi, I'm Kendra Corman with the Troy Blue Marlins, and I'm here doing a member highlight with Richard Price of 2Elate. Richard is the founder of 2Elate, and I wrote it down. He is a professional EOS implementer. So thank you so much for joining me today, Richard, and I'm so excited to learn more about you and EOS. So why don't you start with telling me a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, thanks, Kendra. Where to start? I guess if we go back all the way to the beginning, I grew up in this entrepreneurial family that owned three businesses, one in retail, one in construction, and one in vending. So you can imagine when we sat down for dinner as a family on those rare occasions, there was never any problem, never dealing with any issues, right? It was complete chaos. And so when I graduated college, I ran the opposite direction, joined a couple of Fortune 500 companies, progressed into management, taking the tools and techniques I was learning, always putting them in my back pocket, knowing they'd be super useful for small businesses if only they could be simplified. And, I was lucky. I got my chance to do that when I emigrated to the US 24 years ago now, became a citizen. And since I've been here, I've owned or led three organizations, two really successful. One was a complete nightmare. My partner and I were stuck and battling. And that's when I discovered EOS. We were trapped at about $3 million. Discovered EOS, and using the tools and techniques, we transformed that business over 3 years, took it to $10 million and a 10% net profit position. So I fell in love with EOS in the process. And my partner and I just decided, you know what, this is what I love to do. So why don't I go and do that full time? So yeah, now happy to share EOS with you today.
Very cool. So tell me more about EOS. Like, I know I've read the book Traction, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that have no idea what EOS is or what it's supposed to do for you.
So yeah, EOS is the entrepreneurial operating system. And like you said, if you haven't read the book, this is the book Traction. And I'd be happy to send anybody that, catches this video that we're doing, a copy. I love to do that. But actually, we're really lucky in Michigan because Gino Wickman, the gentleman that wrote the book, is actually from Michigan. So he still lives here. This is where EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, was put in place. And at its heart, it's just a complete set of proven systems and tools that help you do three things really well that we call vision, traction, and healthy. So vision, getting all of your leadership team on the same page, not only with where you're going, but how you're going to get there. Traction, building discipline and accountability throughout the organization so that no matter where you go, everybody's moving towards that shared vision. And healthy, just creating a healthy, cohesive, functional leadership team. Because unfortunately, like I experienced, when you put great leaders together, they don't always play that well together. And so what we find is once you get the leadership team all together on vision, traction, and healthy, then so goes the rest of the organization. So you get all of your employees rowing in that same direction towards that shared vision, cooperating as a leadership team that you just actually want to be around, that you're having fun with, and delivering on the results at every level of the organization, really driving that accountability and discipline home. And that's what really helps you 10x your business along the way.
That's great. So let me ask you, can you tell me like a tip or something that you share with people or that you utilize in one of your sessions that really opens people's eyes and gets them like, oh my gosh, this is for us, or this is...
Yeah. So, I mean, when I think about it, if you're any of our listeners are like most entrepreneurial organizations, you're battling with about 136 issues simultaneously, the kind of things that make your eyes twitch when you get in the car in the morning. And to the extent that you can boil that down to the 6 key components of your business, they tend to disappear because they're more symptoms than they are the root cause. So we just really encourage people to think about those 6 fundamental key components of their business. Those being the vision component, not only where you're going, but how you're going to get there. People, have you got the right people in the organization in the right seats? Data, are you running your organization on facts or figures, or, like me, on the subjective, emotional feelings and egos that drive us as an entrepreneurial owner? And what we find is once you get those 3 elements in place, the business becomes transparent and you got to get super good at solving issues. And so issues is that 4th component. Fifth component is process, making sure you're doing it the right and best way every time. That allows you to scale the business. Quite frankly, that drives your profits in the business. And then the final one being traction, bringing that vision down to the ground and truly executing on it. Because as Gino likes to say, vision without traction is just hallucination.
I like that. So, so when you are brought in for an EOS implementation, you guide them through the process and the discussion, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, any organization can pick up the book, Traction, all of the tools, everything that we go through is described in the book. And again, these are simple, proven systems. They just knitted together. That's the beauty of what Gino did. But that doesn't mean they're easy to implement. So often organizations will take some of the elements, they'll start to use them, see some of the benefits, and then bring in a professional EOS implementer like myself, or, I'm one of over 400 implementers globally that are using EOS, and we've helped over 10,000 companies implement EOS. But when we come in, we're really helping you through our proven process. And our proven process is all about introducing you to the movie version of the book, Traction, if you like, sharing with you how all of the elements fit together. And then if that's a great fit, moving on through our process, which is about setting the foundational tools in place, then looking at our vision, making sure that we've got that strong vision for where we're going. And then once that's in place, then we can move on to execution and then start to execute every quarter with you as a leadership team, coming up, looking down on your business for a day and working on the business as opposed to in the business.
Oh, that's great. So how often do you find, I find that a lot of people just need that outside voice. Do you find that adds a lot of value for your clients or people that are considering implementing EOS on their own, that they find that they sort of hit a wall because that outside viewpoint adds just so much more?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Again, you can implement EOS on your own, and there's a lot of resources out there to do it. So if anybody's thinking about it and they're not sure whether they can afford to work with an implementer, then that's a great place to start. But it's kind of like one of those situations where, much like in a marriage, sometimes you don't know what's going on inside of it without having somebody else help you see it, or looking in the mirror. And often as we come in and we're working with clients, we're really working in three different areas. So we're a teacher, teaching the EOS elements, the context of how you use them. We're a coach helping you. We got the luxury of working with so many great companies all the time that, we can see things that you don't see. And then a facilitator, just helping the leadership team, facilitating that conversation, helping you to dig deep, be raw, be honest, open and vulnerable as a leadership team. And sometimes you need somebody outside to do that. But again, take the benefits that are there out of EOS that you can get, just by reading the book. You can get a long way with that. And if it feels like a great fit, it probably is. And then just have somebody share, just that 90 minutes that we share freely. We love to give those 90 minutes to any potential individuals, organizations that are thinking about it, because it just helps you understand whether EOS is right for you. And if it's not, that's okay. It's not perfect for everybody.
Okay, great. And then I believe you've been working on EOS with some nonprofits too. So it's not just for for-profit companies, but there's a lot of nonprofits that have stalled out in their growth. What are you doing with nonprofits? Is it the same, or do you find it a little bit different?
Yeah, so for nonprofits, it's the same. Now, obviously, when we talk about, from a marketing perspective, our demographic, our psychographic and geographic, when we think about those, EOS was designed for for-profit organizations. However, all of the disciplines can be used for not-for-profit also, because you're facing a lot of those same kind of challenges. You're a group of leaders that have been put together. You're often working with a board. And, we implement the process exactly the same. There's no changes to the process. Terminology might change. Maybe you don't have profit in the organization. Maybe you're reinvesting the funds. And so it's a balance to reinvest in the organization. The stakeholders are different. But at the end of the day, it's about getting that human capital together and moving together as a collective force towards whatever, the aspirations of the organization are. I think one thing that I find really valuable for nonprofit organizations is what we call our VTO, our Vision Traction Organizer. It's just a simple 2-page document to capture where the organization is and where it's going over the longer term, but then also over 3 years and 1 year from now, down into our quarterly discussions, our quarterly rhythm. And that simple 2-page document can be invaluable for the leaders of a nonprofit to communicate to their board, because it very quickly outlines what they're doing and why they're doing it and why they're so behind it. So that's the value I've seen for nonprofits in particular.
Okay, that's great. And I love that you do apply this to nonprofits, because I do think that the more infrastructure that nonprofits can benefit from the for-profit world, I think they just are able to offer so many more resources to their constituents. And so I think that that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to hit you up with one more question, because I know you and I use the same planners. So we use the Full Focus Planner.
We do.
Which is awesome. So I just always try and give people some tips. So what's your favorite part of the Full Focus Planner, or why do you use it?
The Full Focus Planner, and without sounding the horn on EOS again, but EOS puts you in a 90-day world. So every 90 days, you're setting what you're going to do for 90 days, and then you're recapping where you are, and then you're going back to work again for the next 90 days. The Full Focus Planner does the same thing. It structures you in a quarter, however, whenever you start that quarter. And so in that 3 months, it then asks you to look at, okay, we've got these goals for the year. When we think about these goals for the year, what are we going to do this quarter? What am I going to translate into my daily tasks? And then it doesn't force you, because you've got to do the work, but it encourages you at the end of the week to recap. How did I do this week? What went well? What didn't go well? What have I got to do next week? And that structure helps us take the time to sit back and just really reflect as an individual on everything that's happened that week. And I think so often, we can get caught up in a lot of the negative things, or the things that we didn't get done. And if we don't take the time to step back and look at it, we miss all the great stuff that we did that week. And that just really motivates me for the next week and then going forward. What about you? What do you find?
So I love it for the 90-day planning too, because I don't know about if anybody else is watching has made any New Year's resolutions, but usually by now you've given up on them, partially because you forgot. They're not in front of you, or they're not broken down into chunks. So you can either put it off, or if you want to get 6 new clients this year, break it down into the quarters. It's it just makes it so much more attainable from a goal perspective. Yeah. And then for me personally, I just like actually I'm looking for a blank page here. I like how I can add my 3 I cannot leave the office before these 3 things are done. And it gives me a reasonable to-do list for what I have to get done. And then I can add those other things in there as I go. And even though I use some online project management tools and things like that, the writing it down and the keeping track of it really keeps me going with it. So
there's a lot of psychology that's been done around actually writing it down as opposed to typing it. It's a very different mental process, and it does help cement it. And I think the other great thing, Kendra, that you just pointed out was within those 90-day objectives, what the planner gives you is a way to tick off. Is this a habit that I'm forming, and I've got to get 80 days into a habit before it's truly become a habit and habitual to me, or is it a achievement goal? Have I got to get something done, or am I setting a process in place to actually drive something in the future? So I love it.
And I love checking things off.
90-day world in EOS is rocks. Smashing through those rocks every day and every week towards that 90 days, that you can actually tick them off and claim victory, and then move on to the next 90 days.
That's great. So if anybody here is looking to learn more about Richard, EOS, or his company 2Elate, you can find his websites right there. You can just visit 2elate.com. And then again, we are the LBN Troy Blue Marlins local and regional networking at its best. We meet on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays at 7:30 in the morning on Zoom right now. If you're interested in visiting, you can please call my office at 248-923-1424, as long as there's no conflicts. We'd love to have you visit. You can learn more about Richard and some of our other members as we continue to do these member highlights.